Hi there, Fiona Pearman and 𝒂𝒂𝒊𝒕𝒊𝒏𝒈. Continuing our series about talking regarding why fixing the system isn't necessarily fixing the problem. And this week it's all about the impact on women while we wait for this mythical system to be fixed. What we know is this is long-term. System fixing takes time. It's slow. It's very complex. In the meantime, there's a whole lot of things that need to happen. We talk about pipelines that we need to build. Organisations say they want sustainable pipelines of female talent, and yet all the things that need to happen for that are not necessarily being done. Or if they are, there's little bits and pieces, it's stop-start. It's not happening in a way that achieves the outcome we say is important.
Yeah, and I think, a critical piece around fixing the system is policies, processes, working on all the very complex layered elements of the system. And human beings, right, like to get around process. They like to get around policies. You've ever done a system implementation and been the person looking at variations? Human beings, where they can, not everyone, but a lot of us will, where possible, work around the system. And so unless there's compliance, tracking, or forced change, legislated change, change can be really slow. And so while all of this great work, this important work on fixing the system, is happening slowly, women are missing out. They're missing out on opportunities to be visible, to build their skill, capability, experience by putting their hat in the ring. They're missing out financially in their bank accounts today, and of course into the future when we think about the gender pay gap, and in terms of their economic security, their financial their security, their housing security. We know that this has a very real impact, not just on what women are earning today, but of course what that means for their long-term security impact, with that very, very important word, compounding, which is the cost of the gender pay gap for women, not just today, but in their retirement.
And when you add to that the fact that women continue to carry a huge amount, disproportionate amount of the unpaid work in our households, in our community, the emotional care, the caring responsibilities, even the office housekeeping at work, which is often unrecognised, is the bulk of that is done by women. And all of this takes a lot of time, energy, and cognitive load. Constantly trading off, how do I balance this career and family, my well-being? We see higher rates of burnout. We see decision fatigue. There's just so much that's demanded of women as they wait for this system to be fixed.
And so, there's a choice, right? We can um, wear that or bear that load, or we can resource women, which is very much our work. We are huge advocates for fixing the system, for all the great work that has been done and that continues to be done. And we know human behavior really, really well. Um, and so there is an element of resourcing women in the system at the grassroots, we often say from the bottom up, to be able to challenge the system, to be able to influence the behavior that is operating in the system. Often behavior that is not always intentional, that is supporting the system to maintain the status quo. And when you have multiple women and humans in the system challenging the system, that in and of itself can drive systemic change. Here we talk about, and these are real client stories of women who have been asked to take promotions without pay rises, who have the courage to actually say, no, I'm not going to do that. If you're not going to reward me appropriately, then I'm not going to say yes to that promotion, even though it feels really uncomfortable. About women whose default belief when they come to us, or story, is that they're not good at presenting because when they walk into a room, everyone's on their phones and their computers, and they're not paying much attention to them, and resourcing that woman to, yes, of course, continue to build capability, but to have the courageous conversation with the chair of that meeting to talk about what's acceptable behavior within that room, and to even challenge whether this is a conversation or a presentation that should be happening in that room. Resourcing women to get clear about and challenge traditional promotion pathways, and in so doing that, putting their hat in the ring outside of promotion cycles to ask for and secure promotion pathways. These are all live client stories that we have seen and witnessed have an impact for the individual, but have a ripple effect into the system.
This is super important to understand, because we know, and we see this time and time again over history, that change comes from sustained pressure. There's visibility and disruption. It's usually uncomfortable, particularly for those people who currently hold power. And it starts with individuals and small groups being willing to challenge the status quo. We think about the suffragettes and all that they suffered, the willingness to chain themselves to fences, to go to jail in order that women would get the right to vote. Civil rights advocates, across time, and the organised resistance and the way in which that has shaped our current social dynamics. LGBTIQ+ rights that have progressed through visibility and protest, and the laws, policies, and established protocols that have been challenged over time and eventually dismantled on the back of those protests, of those people speaking up, of the resistance that was applied. And those people felt as though it was worth it. They were willing to step in. They were willing to challenge the dominant power structure, and in doing so, we're changing the system.
We're going to leave it there. If you've enjoyed today's confidence conversation, we'd love to hear from you, and of course, for you to share it with anyone in your world who may benefit from them. If you'd like to hear more of our confidence conversations, head over to our YouTube channel. Hundreds and hundreds of videos on various topics, including those in this series over there. And of course, hear firsthand from alumni from our Acts of Confidence program that will talk to and share their stories about their Acts of Confidence transformation. And if and when you're ready to go deeper with your relationship with core confidence, visit our website, 𝒂𝒊𝒕𝒊𝒏𝒈.com.au. Thanks for tuning in today. Don't forget to hit subscribe on your YouTube channel for more insights on confidence, leadership, and complex work environments. We drop new videos regularly, and we'd love to share them with you.